Ladies and gentlemen, football fans around the world, buckle up, because this summer transfer window is heating up, and the latest development out of Old Trafford is sparking some serious conversation. Manchester United are making waves again. In the Premier League transfer market, this time their eyes are firmly locked on one of the most exciting young midfield talents in English football. Brighton and Hove Albion's Carlos Baleba. At just 21 years old, the Cameroonian-born midfield dynamo has already become a player to watch, attracting interest from multiple top clubs. But now, the story takes a dramatic twist. Reports suggest that the Red Devils are pushing hard to bring Baleba to Manchester, yet they've drawn a line in the sand over one critical demand. Manchester United have reportedly refused to include one of their promising academy graduates, Toby Collier, as a makeweight in the deal. And with a reported £105 million price tag hanging over Baleba's head, the transfer negotiations are shaping up to be a test of will, strategy, and financial firepower. In today's deep dive, we're going to unpack every angle of this saga: who Carlos Baleba is and why he's in such high demand, the details of United's pursuit, the significance of Toby Collier's development, and why the club is refusing to let him go. The staggering £105 million valuation, and what this move could mean for Manchester United's midfield revolution under their current sporting project. Section 1. The rise of Carlos Baleba. To understand why Manchester United are going to such lengths to try and sign Carlos Baleba, you need to know his story. Born in Douala, Cameroon, Baleba moved to France at a young age, joining Lille's famed youth academy. His mix of power, technical ability, and incredible work rate quickly saw him rise through the ranks. By 2022, he had broken into Lille's first team, and even in limited appearances, he showed flashes of brilliance, the kind of raw talent that scouts drool over. Brighton, always with an eye for emerging talent, swooped in during the summer of 2023, securing his signature for a reported fee in the region of £25 million. It was a move that raised eyebrows at the time, not because Brighton signed a young midfielder, that's practically their transfer policy, but because of the size of the investment for a player with so little top-flight experience. But as we've seen time and again, Brighton's recruitment team often spots gems before they become household names. Fast forward to the present day, and Baleba has repaid that faith with a string of standout performances in the Premier League. His ability to break up play, carry the ball through the middle third, and distribute intelligently has drawn comparisons to players like Yves Bissouma in his Brighton days, and even a young Yaya Toure. Section 2, United's midfield problem. For Manchester United, the midfield has been both a source of strength and frustration over recent seasons. Casemiro's arrival initially brought stability and steel, but age, injuries, and a lack of mobility in transition have been noticeable issues. Christian Eriksen, while a creative force, has struggled with consistency and pace in certain high-intensity games. Sofiane Amrabat's loan from Fiorentina hasn't yielded the transformative impact many hoped for, and Scott McTominay, while contributing crucial goals, is not a natural holding midfielder. That leaves United with a glaring need: a young, athletic, technically proficient midfielder who can operate as both a defensive shield and a transition engine. And that's exactly why Carlos Baleba fits the bill so perfectly. United's scouting department reportedly flagged him as a target months ago, with positive reports highlighting his maturity, tactical intelligence, and adaptability. Section 3. The Toby Collier factor. Now here's where the plot thickens. Brighton, knowing Baleba's value and United's interest, reportedly floated the idea of including Toby Collier in the negotiations. For those unfamiliar, Toby Collier is a name that's been gaining traction in United's academy circles, a product of the youth setup and signed from Brighton's own academy back in 2022. Collier has been impressing coaches at various levels with his leadership, reading of the game, and defensive midfield skill set. He's already captained England at youth levels, and is seen internally as one of the brightest prospects for the number 6 role in the coming years. Selling him, or even using him as a bargaining chip, is something United's hierarchy appears unwilling to consider. Sources close to the club indicate that United view Collier as a long-term project, someone who could potentially break into the first team within the next 2 seasons. Letting him go now, especially back to a club like Brighton, who have a reputation for developing and selling talent for massive profits, would be a mistake they're not prepared to make. Section 4. The £105 million price tag. Let's talk numbers. Because this is where things get eye-watering. Reports out of both Manchester and the South Coast suggest that, yes, that's more than what Arsenal paid for Declan Rice, more than what Chelsea shelled out for Enzo Fernandez, and just shy of the record fee United paid for Paul Pogba back in 2016. Why so high? Brighton's position is simple. Baleba is under a long-term contract. He's already performing at an elite level for his age, and the Premier League market for top midfielders is inflated. With clubs like Liverpool, Chelsea, and even Bayern, Munich reportedly sniffing around Brighton can afford to play hardball. This is a club that doesn't sell cheap. Just ask Arsenal about the Moises Caicedo saga, or Chelsea about how long it took to prize Marc Cucurella away. For United, that £105 million figure represents a huge commitment. It would require either a massive outlay of cash or a carefully structured deal with installments, bonuses, and maybe even sell-on clauses. Section 5. Why United won't budge on Collier. So why not just include Collier if it helps land Baleba? From a purely transactional point of view, swapping a prospect for a proven talent seems logical. But football isn't just about transactions, it's about vision and planning. United's leadership, particularly those overseeing youth development, are determined to re-establish the club's tradition of promoting homegrown players. In recent seasons, the emergence of Alejandro Garnacho Cabimatnu and others has been a reminder that some of United's most valuable assets are already in their academy. Losing Collier now could be seen as repeating past mistakes, selling young talent only to watch them flourish elsewhere. Think of the regret over players like Gerard Piqué or Paul Pogba's first departure. There's also a symbolic factor. Keeping Collier sends a message to the rest of the academy that the pathway to the first team is alive and valued. Section 6. The transfer chess game. Transfers at this level are a chess match. Brighton know they hold the cards with Baleba under contract, but they also know United's need is pressing. United, on the other hand, will try to leverage the player's ambition. If Baleba expresses a desire to move, it could shift the balance of power in negotiations. The refusal to include Collier may slow talks, but it also forces Brighton to make a choice: stick rigidly to their valuation and demands, or negotiate on terms that allow United to keep their prospect. Agents, intermediaries, and even the media will play roles in shaping the narrative and applying pressure. Section 7. The bigger picture for United's summer window. This potential signing of Carlos Baleba isn't happening in isolation. United are expected to be active in multiple positions this summer. A centre-back to replace Rafael Varane if he departs, another forward option, and possibly a right-back. Budget allocation will be key. Spending £105 million on one player could limit moves elsewhere unless sales are made. That's where the likes of Jadon Sancho, Donny van de Beek, and Anthony Martial come into the picture. Offloading fringe players could free up resources, but United must balance immediate needs with long-term squad building. If Baleba arrives, it would signal a shift toward building a young, athletic, and technically proficient midfield core alongside Kabi Manu. Section 8. What Baleba could bring to United for those wondering what the fuss is about. Let's break down Baleba's game. He's strong in the tackle, but also disciplined enough to avoid reckless fouls. Offensively, he has the ability to carry the ball forward, bypassing opposition lines with both dribbles and progressive passes. In United's system, he could function as a defensive pivot in a 4-3-3, or as a box-to-box partner to someone like Manu in a double pivot. His presence could free Bruno Fernandes to operate higher up without worrying as much about defensive coverage. Section 9. The risk factor. Of course, any transfer carries risk. £105 million for a 21-year-old with fewer than 50 Premier League appearances is a gamble, no matter how talented. There's the question of adaptation to a bigger club, the pressure of the price tag, and the potential for injuries. United have been burned before by big-money midfield signings. Fans will remember the mixed returns from the likes of Pogba and Fred. This is why due diligence is so important, and why the refusal to include Collier might actually be a blessing. It forces the club to think long-term rather than just rushing to plug gaps. Section 10. Conclusion and fan reactions. So, Here we are. Manchester United are in hot